Sorry, I gotta take this. Hello? I'm on stage right now, actually. I'm on stage. Oh, I'm not gonna go, I'm already here. All right, thank you. No, I'm not leaving, I'm staying. Okay, everybody. Sorry about that. That was my good old friend, imposter syndrome. It tends to show up when I'm doing something pretty great, like right now. Imposter syndrome, what is this? Well, it's my good old friend. It's my inner voice trying to convince me that I don't belong in spaces that I've worked so hard to be in. Imposter syndrome feels like you show up at a party that you've crashed, you weren't invited to. They're going to turn down the music and someone's going to point straight at you and say, you weren't invited. It's really scary. Imposter syndrome feels like a confidence crisis. You believe you're a fraud despite the evidence of your competence. So quick show of hands, who's ever felt this way before? And we're not alone. 70% of the US will experience imposter syndrome at some point in their life. 84% of entrepreneurs and small business owners reported feelings, moderate to severe feelings of imposter syndrome. And what's more, is that women and people of color will feel this more intensely. It's more prevalent. And that's unfortunate. But that's why this conversation is so important. And that's why we have to put our best friend in check. I keep referring to imposter syndrome as my best friend. But before I get into that mystery, I'm going to tell you a little about myself and a little bit about my family and their journey. This is my grandfather. At 90 years old, he stood up from his wheelchair very proudly to take a photo with me at my college graduation. I was one of the first people in my family to receive a degree. It's a very proud moment. My grandparents came here from the Dominican Republic to the US for a better life and for more opportunities for their grandchildren and the rest of the family. And I'd say they did just that, and more. I stand here today because my grandparents did not let doubt stop them. My stepdad, through hurdles and doubt in medical school, became a doctor. My dad, through all the odds and all the doubt, turned his life around through hard work and passion. And my mom, who openly shares her fear of failure, makes all her roles look easy. I stand here today because of their collective resilience. Resilience is built through facing your challenges. And because of them, I've had the opportunity to face my challenges. Because of them, I challenge myself. And I fail over and over and over again. But failure is an opportunity to learn over and over and over again. And I'll keep going until I succeed. So, the mind is a powerful place. Ever heard the saying, thoughts become things? Same with imposter syndrome. The power of imposter syndrome relies in what you do with it. The power of imposter syndrome relies in what you do with it. So I have learned to embrace imposter syndrome as my best friend. A friend by definition is someone that we like, right? I hope we like our friends. Someone we like, someone we trust, someone we support, we talk to. I've learned to do all these things with imposter syndrome. embracing it has helped me. I embrace imposter syndrome because it is honest. I like it because it's brutally honest. I embrace it by listening to its feedback. And in education, feedback is effective when it's timely, specific, and actionable. As a special education coordinator, I make sure that our students' long-term goals are aligned with their short-term goals, and that their goals are timely, specific, and actionable. So although imposter syndrome is a little bit dramatic and exaggerated, we all have that kind of friend. This is that one living in my head. It's still feedback. So I take what I need and I leave what I don't. I make a plan and I make sure that it's timely, specific, and actionable. So let's shift gears after we've learned to embrace our imposter syndrome. Let's shift gears to becoming our own cheerleader. And the cheerleader imposter syndrome never knew it needed. You wouldn't talk to your friend the way your inner voice talks to you. So, if we're imposter syndrome's friend, where do we start? How do we start being more kind to ourselves? Well, I like to do an activity that I personally find impactful. Stay with me here. This is baby Amanda. Thank you. My daughter looks just like me. So, I think about my younger self, and I remind her how far she's come, and let her know that some of her dreams have actually already come true. I acknowledge my failures, but I also emphasize how much I've learned from those failures. So let's try it together. Everyone close your eyes, or not, totally up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. Think about your younger self. Maybe a pivotal moment in your life, maybe you can think of a picture of baby you. How would you talk to yourself? What would you say? Think about your biggest wins. Now think about some of the things that you failed in. Don't do that too much. Remind yourself the things that you've learned because of those failures. No matter where you are in life, you can repeat after me in this sentence. Ready? Okay. I am not done.
I am not done.
Okay, you can open your eyes now. Or you can keep them closed, whatever you want. It's fine. It's fine with me. This activity is science-backed motivation. We know that self-affirmation reduces stress and increases performance. We also know that self-affirmation stimulates parts of your brain that enhance motivation and confidence. By the way, this is a trend on Instagram and TikTok, so it's not just me talking to myself. They're also reaping the benefits of this same activity also. So, before we take the leap, write yourself a letter, maybe make a video for yourself, post it or not post it. If you post it, you inspire some people. However you do it, make sure you're kind to yourself. Embrace the confidence that follows. So we've learned to embrace imposter syndrome as our friend, and we've also learned to cheer it on. Now it's time to take the leap. So perfectionism and imposterism often intertwine. We believe every task must achieve perfection. Sound familiar? Especially for those that raise their hand. Well, research shows that imposter syndrome and perfectionism show up in two distinct responses. One, over-preparing, and two, procrastination. Here's the thing, you wouldn't over-prepare helping someone, helping your friend. And you shouldn't over-prepare helping someone in need. So let's stop doing it. Let's start doing it for ourselves. I was applying for a job recently, and this statement came up. I'm always applying for jobs, by the way. Always be looking. Always, always, always be looking. We encourage you to apply, even if you don't believe you meet every one of our qualifications described. They also mentioned the studies about how women and people of color are less likely to apply for jobs if they feel they haven't met each criteria on that job description as described. Well, this is infuriating, and this is also really sad, because I know a lot of talented people that are not out in the world giving that talent to the world. So we need to fix that. I applied, by the way, because they wrote this. They're acknowledging imposter syndrome. I appreciated that. But also, I remind myself that what's the worst that can happen? I applied. I go through an interview. Maybe I don't get it. But I would have met awesome people. I have the experience. I've learned something. And guess what? I'm going to do it over and over and over again. Because that's how you get to succeed. So take the leap. I teach painting classes. Who's been to paint and sip classes before? I know they're very popular. And maybe not the high school students, they haven't been to paint and sip yet. Right? Yeah. But paint classes, if you've been to one, they're very fun. But people hesitate with blank canvases. Very much like when you're writing a book, you have a blank sheet, you're writing an essay, you're writing a paper. It's intimidating. So what I like to do is I like to tell people, draw a bold line across the canvas. And that usually takes out the hesitation. And what I usually say to them is, congratulations, you finished the simplest part of the painting. And everyone laughs. I'm a little corny. People laugh at me though. They make me feel good. So what I do there is, it's not actually it's simple, but it's not actually easy. It's the hardest part to start. But once you start, you set in motion your progression to your goals, to finishing the painting. So same thing. I urge you to think about what you're going to do today when you leave here. How can you start something to set in motion your goals? How can you start something to just take a little step to get there? Because starting is the hardest part. But once you've started, it's a monumental accomplishment. Michelle Obama, during her book tour in 2018, she said, here's the secret. I have been at probably every powerful table that you can think of. They are not that smart. I love this quote because it's Michelle Obama, but also because it's true. It reminds me that the people sitting next to me at those same influential tables might have less struggle, fewer talents, but also, based on the data, likely struggling with imposter syndrome too. So I'm not telling you to go apply to be a pilot for a job like that if you haven't done the training or you don't have a license, don't do that. What I am telling you is to take the leap for yourself. Hit that send button. Apply for the job. Apply for the college. Shoot your shot. However you do it, set it in motion. That's already a monumental accomplishment. So, imposter syndrome, the power of it relies on what you do with it. I have chosen to make it my friend. I've chosen to make it a catalyst for good. Consider making imposter syndrome your friend too. Consider being your own best friend. And while it's absolutely important to have a solid support system, no one is going to be dishonest with you. No one is going to make you do something or motivate you to do something if you don't want it yourself. So embrace imposter syndrome and think of ways that you can love yourself into being better. So consider making insert parts of yourself you need love with your best friend. Think of parts that you need love. Love that part. Embrace that part of you. In education and as a teacher, I encourage my students to make mistakes, and I encourage them to understand their flaws, understand their shortcomings. Knowing your weaknesses is such an underrated strength. So insert your weakness here. It's not about entirely muting imposter syndrome or ignoring the call. We know that ignoring feelings leads to stress, anxiety. We don't want that. Instead of ignoring the call, pick up. The power of imposter syndrome relies in what you do with it. Thank you.